Friday, at Dewey Square in Boston, there was over 1,000 people there, and being part of that huge crowd, it was that movement was exhilarating and exciting. But on Friday night when I was there, they actually hadn't set up the physical camp yet. It was just beginning. It was pretty much just an open park with tons of people there. And I couldn't actually make it back down there until yesterday, Monday, when I went back down there. And I have to tell you, from Friday to Monday, it had really, really, really changed. Now there are over 80 tents set up in the park. It is essentially a tent city. And I have to tell you, there is something really, really haunting about physically seeing a tent city. It harkens back to the era of the Great Depression, to Hooverville, tent cities, where people who were homeless, kicked out of their homes, were forced to live in tents because that was all they could afford, because they had no jobs. And right now in Boston, you have all these protesters who are choosing to live in tents to warn people that unless something changes, and changes soon, that actual tent cities will be popping up everywhere, with actual homeless people living in these tent cities. Actually, at the first Occupy Wall Street that's going on Wall Street in New York, and I believe at most of the other Occupy protests around the country, people are not allowed to put up tents or tarps or other types of shelter for themselves there. And I tweeted a couple of photos of the tent city yesterday, and people who are occupying in New York and Chicago tweeted back to me joking that they were actually jealous of Boston's tents. And they should be, actually. I'm convinced, I'm completely convinced that places not being able to put up tents is by design. While obviously, if you're sleeping outdoors, it's great to have any type of shelter, like a tent, to protect you from things like the rain and the wind. That's obvious, right? That they don't want protesters to have any type of physical shelter. But I'm actually convinced that there's actually another side to the fact that they're not allowing people to put up shelter in tents. And that's the fact that it is chilling to see an actual tent city. It is chilling to confront the fact that people losing their homes and being forced to live in tent cities may actually be the future for a vast majority of our country. And the top 1% doesn't want you to think about that reality that's coming to us. They don't want you to see that reality. They sure as hell don't want you to do anything about that upcoming reality. But tent cities, tent cities very likely are in our future. And don't get me wrong, I say it's chilling, and it is. It is chilling, but it's also simultaneously inspiring, considering all the people who are putting their bodies on the line out there to try to make our future better. I was both inspired and horrified, and that's a good thing.